आपकी शक्ल को क्या हुआ?
Night only.
Well, congratulate. I was saying congratulations on Sister Midnight and this a weird, amazing little film, and I'm so excited to chat with both of you about it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, but Karan, I wanted to hear from you first, Karan, about and it's very like simple, but how did this all start? How did Sister Midnight start and was conceived for you?
The first sort of thing was visiting Bombay when I was quite young for the first time, and it's such a strange, crazy, chaotic city with full of contradictions and different cultures clashing together. And I was just sort of very, it's a city that gets under your skin. And that was the first thing.
Mm.
I was just like mesmerized by the city, especially at night. And
Oh.
I like cities at night. I know everyone goes on about Athens being beautiful in the day with the Acropolis, but like Athens is beautiful at night. It's so weird and shadowy and
It
covered in
is really
graffiti.
beautiful. That's true.
Yeah, it really is. And Berlin as well, which is like like this battered beauty, and it's like again another shadowy city. And then so through that, the characters sort of arrived, and as I was soaking up the city, it all kind of spun out from one moment. Like what happens in a traditional arranged marriage setup when the dude goes to work, or they do, and the woman stays at home. What happens that very first morning, the moment she wakes up? And, and if she doesn't have a domestic bone in her body, and she's kind of a little strange herself. So yeah.
Cool. Well, and this has been in development for a while, right? I think I read, Radhika, with an interview with you that you've been involved on this project for a long time, right? 8 years? Is that correct?
Now 8 years.
Wow. So, Karan, how long
Is
has the
it?
script? Is it eight?
Yeah.
But like how, so I'm
When
curious
was
how
it
long.
I met you? Hold on. So like, yeah, I don't know. It must be, yeah, probably. Sorry. Yeah.
That's so great. Like
Yeah.
that's so wild how long this has been in development for you and to have it be out.
Development
Like
hell is real.
But yeah, like I'm curious, this is like taking so long, it's finally coming out. How has reception been internationally, like with international audiences versus audiences in India? What has that been like for both of you? And Ritika, I know you already have such a career in India as an actor, and I'm just curious what the reception of Sister Benet has been like. But like,
Yeah.
if it's
It
been
hasn't
different
released
or
in
what?
India.
It hasn't. Okay,
No, no.
So
cool.
we're yet to find out if they burn the cinema down. I don't know.
But Ritika, I wanted to hear about why you were so interested in being part of Sister Midnight. You play Uma, this incredible character who I wrote down just gets more feral as the minutes pass, and I love watching this woman who already is just like fuck this to become so like this like feral creature in the best way possible. I mean that. So I wanted to hear from you about becoming Uma and what was so alluring for you to embody her.
I mean, to be very honest, it's one of the meatiest parts I've been offered
Oh
in
yeah.
my entire career. It really is. And it also was I mean, it was something that I had never read anything like it before. He has a very unique voice. And I just thought it was a crazy film. Very, very strange and very relatable, despite
Yes.
of not understanding how it's all sort of coming together in my head. And very funny. There was a certain lightness to the film, despite it's sort of Umar doing quite weird things. And so um, I just I just really loved it, actually.
That's amazing. Well, especially as someone who's been in acting as long as you have, and to get such a meaty role, something that's so
Yeah,
genre bendy and weird, and you get to
yeah,
be a little freak, which
yeah,
I think is also really fun as a performer to get to just like be kind of a freak in a society that doesn't really
yeah.
understand her. I think that's just got to be so
Just a
cool.
misfit, and yeah, she's a absolutely, and I loved how innocent most of uh, Karan's characters are. I mean, apart from the crowd, everybody else in the film is really innocent, isn't it, Karan? That's true. Uh, yeah,
Yes, everyone in a seat of authority or societal uh, with society, like weight in that society is the enemy or freaks in some way.
Yeah.
But I wanted to hear about Karan from you for writing her. And like obviously you said that like the Colonel is the housewife on the first night, the first day, what that, but then how did you start crafting Uma? Was there any like sources of other sources of inspiration and but like what about her for you was just so compelling to keep writing and keep putting her in these increasingly bizarre situations?
I don't know how to answer that because it's a really abstract process, like
Okay, fair.
living with a character. So like I don't totally know how to
Yeah.
answer that. But like in terms of writing, at least, like I am a slow writer, so and it's I'm very much making character studies in a way.
Okay.
It's it has to surprise me before, and if it before I can put it on or accept what I've written, or it won't surprise anyone else. So yeah, it's just about trusting the material and the character and seeing where they take you.
Cool. But then I also wanted to talk about like how you actually filmed this because I love the way there's this like did you shoot on film or did you shoot digitally? Because there's such a like a really specific feel to this movie, to Sister Midnight. So I wanted to hear about the logistics of just actually filming it and how you filmed it.
Yeah, we shot it on film. And I've only really ever used film. I've used digital a few times and I don't like the process.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm a dinosaur. Look, it looks
No.
better no matter what anyone says. Secondly, it's about the process for me. And when I'm shooting, I do a lot of my work is in prep and
Okay.
whether it's in the actors or it's with the camera department, and it's something about working on film and the sort of respect you need for the material we do shoot a lot of tests to find the look and find the texture and do strange things
Mm.
to the negative depending on where we are in the story. So we push the negative in certain places, we pull the negative in certain places, and sort of essentially
Cool.
pre-designed the color palette with the film stocks till we arrived at what felt like the right look. And
Oh,
I can
wow.
say and the lighting, I'm sort of well, the word I kept me and my DP Sverre kept going using was expressionist. I mean, I think I'm very into like a lot of expressionist art, and he's Norwegian, but prior to that, I was really looking at sort of Norwegian paintings and stuff, and hard light. It's a kind of lighting style that was probably prevalent in the 50s, but doesn't really exist anymore. And digital can't really shoot hard light in the same way film can. Um, Sorry, I'm going off a technical rant, but like,
No, I love it though because like the colors of this, especially how you talking about loving cities at night clicked because you shoot so beautifully at night and the way that everything is like the way that you make the light feel so different, obviously, but just the way you make nighttime feel so welcoming in a way, I think is really cool and how you accomplish that with the film. Yeah.
that's interesting because you can be absolutely alone in a city heaving with people, surrounded by people, and find solace in the empty spaces. And in some ways, that's where she does, not by her own choice. She has to find solace in the night. But one of the things we wanted to stay away from was when you see most films shot in India by people like us coming from abroad, it's always bathed in this romantic golden light and stuff. And one of the things that was very clear was that the light hitting her would always be clean white light, kind of like it was if you look at cinema in the early 70s. They didn't mess around too much in
Yeah.
terms of the actual tones that you got on the key lights. But we had a rule: it would always be white unless it got polluted through something in the location, like a window or a fabric or something like this. And that way, you end up with a sort of, I think, a graphic thing where you're constantly the focus is Uma, she's in every frame, and then all these other colors sort of bursting around her while she's almost carved out in this white light. And in a sense, she's a displaced character, and in a sense, the camera work really illustrates that, I think.
Yeah, that's so cool. Like I love that. That is so cool. And then Radhika,
I
just to
don't know if
have
I
your
answered your question with my rant.
You did though. You did though because I had that answered so many questions I had actually. And like Radhika with you being the sole focus in the frame. What was it like for you as a performer then to just like take this on your shoulders? I mean, it must have been like, obviously exciting, but what was that experience like? Sorry, that's my cat, not a ghost opening my door.
I'm disappointed it's not Ghost.
I know, but yeah, when you get about like carrying this film on your shoulders, I mean, it's got to be so exciting, but also just like a little bit daunting.
Um, actually, I really love to be in each frame.
Hell yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I don't get, I mean, I've not gotten many such opportunities, but and I've been asked this question before, was like, oh, do you feel stressed? And I don't feel stressed at all because
Yeah,
if only because I feel like I've always maintained this, and I don't I'm not saying this because it sounds uh, intellectual or anything, but I genuinely only care about the process.
cool.
It's so, I mean, it's not, I'm not a producer, it's not a producer friendly statement, but but I really like, a lot of people ask me in India also that what did the film do in box office, and I never have ever paid attention. I don't know how the film, beyond the point that I just really care so much about the process. So to be
That's
on set
awesome.
every day, to be there, it's on a set that you really like, and to go to sleep every night excited about the next day and the scenes, or stressed, but in a good stressed, good nervous about next day's scenes is just the best thing you can ask for. Like, first of all, you're doing the job you really want to do. And on top of that, in that job, you're actually getting the work you want to do. I mean, you're really lucky, and I love it.
And I mean, I know you've been a performer for a while, but was there anything that you really like took away or learned from this experience since it is so different from what you've done before?
Yes, for 100% actually, because so basically, by and large, I mean, I used to do a lot of theater, and then
Yeah.
there it was a lot different. But since I started doing film, and predominantly worked in India, most of the time my process is quite the same. Like, I would take a character, I would really build the character backstory and where they come from and why did they react a certain way, and really sort of, and then strategically figure out how each scene would play out. Here, a lot of the things I was trying to find where the impulse was. So why does she get up? Why does she do this? Why does she go to this lane, for example, or turn right? And there was no explanation, and instant explanation, and intellectual explanation. And so Karan's method was to not intellectualize, de-intellectualize the whole thing so that you really root the impulse in your body. So it's all in your subconscious. You understand
Mm.
the character is just rooted within you, and you're not really thinking of like the immediate intention to why that person needs to take a right on the street, right? So it's far more subconscious than that. And so it suddenly became, the first 2 days were quite difficult actually. I used to remember coming home thinking, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know this is the, I don't know. And then I just thought that this is, and I'm not a very confident person in the sense that I'm always the person who thinks that, am I done it right? Am I doing it wrong? But but when I got the rhythm, I knew I got the rhythm in the during the rehearsals, and somehow this process made it all very light. There was a lightness to the entire character, uh, and that sort of instantly came about. And I think what was the best takeaway for me was our relationship off screen, because it was a really like pure, like, it was such a great collaboration process, and being in sync with each other, completely. Um, that's always joyful.
That's amazing. Well, I have to wrap up, but thank you both so much. This film is so fun and weird and I don't know, there's a lot of words to describe it, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.